The point is, every kind of justification is
Absolutely.
possible. And these are not questions of college debates. These are essential questions of principles. Now, if you don't want to bring principles into politics, that's fair enough. And that is the point I'm making. That really there is no distinction in terms of the Congress or the BJP. We are getting similar parties with similar configurations, similar personality cults.
Yeah.
And when we talk about Jaswant Singh being pushed out and Satpal Maharaj being brought in, it is because you are building a personality cult of loyalty towards the leader and leaving out any question of an older ideology that the party had any inclination
Absolutely.
towards. So we are getting a BJP shaped in the same way as the Congress was.
Yes, Sanjay Kaul, please respond to that. And also, you know, you're accepting serial defectors like Ramakant Yadav, for example, who has contested on 3 different tickets from the same constituency. Where is the question of ideology here then?
I think, can I just step in here, please? I would like to just respond to Hartosh's points. My point is he's laboring the point again and again. But fact of the matter is that basically this equation that he's forcing upon the BJP because he happens to see or he won't like to see the BJP like the Congress is quite unnecessary. That the debate is clearly marked here. The debate is basically talking about a movement away from the Congress and other parties to the BJP. It's a phenomenon. Let's discuss the phenomenon. Now you are telling me that he's taking great umbrage of the fact that people are dropping ideology and wearing the saffron skin of the BJP. Now if that is the case, then that is the case. So you have to basically have a problem with the Congress, not with the BJP. If the BJP can bring in more people, convert them to its own self, this is not my failure, this is my success. Number one. Number two, more importantly, ideological moorings in the Congress and people who support the Congress for so long means nothing. No, there are no ideological moorings.
So, Mr. Kaul, you're saying that all these people that are joining the BJP now are doing so because of your ideology and not because of the opportunity that it presents.
I am saying the opportunity is part of what we are offering. If we did not have a strong leadership, if we did not have a personality like Narendra Modi,
how is it, Sanjay Kaul, that for 4.5 years they didn't embrace this ideology and suddenly they have embraced the ideology? Oh, the light came up. How did that happen? How are overnight enlightenment is this happening? I mean, it's a little hard to debate. Digest the argument that you're giving. Isn't it, Mr. Rao?
If you would have listened to the last part,
if there was a change of heart, why does it happen on the day of the election? If there is a change of ideology, why should it happen?
Before I ended, I would have answered your question.
Mr. Kaul, people within your own party have not yet embraced what you're saying as a wave. People within your own party are yet to embrace it fully. So how can you say everybody else is embracing it and it's part of a larger ideology?
If those people were shouting and crying and demanding change of ideology within their party for 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, suddenly you change your shift and then get the benefit. I think it has nothing to do with ideology. It is just a transfer.
I am repeating this for the sake of people who may have missed it, including you, that part of the attraction of the BJP at this point in time is also circumstantial, but it is because we provide that quality of leadership, that semblance of leadership, that dynamism.
Ajay Alok begs to differ. Ajay Alok begs to differ. Sanjay Kaul, Salman Soz, Ajay Kaul, Ajay Alok both want to get in. Yes, Ajay Alok, then we'll go across to Salman Soz.
It's not because that the people are drifting towards BJP because they are in a need of BJP. It's basically BJP which is needing these people because they have the paucity of the candidates all across the nation.
Point well made.
Check it out in UP, check it out in Bihar. They don't have candidates. They are importing candidates from other parties. Just at any cost, forget about ideology, forget about principle, nothing doing. All the things that matter to them is how to win the seat. And they don't have candidates to win the seat. Bihar is a classical example where they have thrown 10 seats to the allies. They couldn't find the candidate. Till the last moment, 4 seats were not decided. They finally had to adjust Vishnu Mohan Kumar, which was not given ticket from our party, from this Jhanjarpur seat.
You know,
there are loads of seats where you can just find that they don't have any candidates.
But Dr. Alok, it could be argued that it sounds like sour grapes coming from a party that is losing people. When you talk about a party that is attracting people, it could be argued that it just sounds like sour grapes.
I don't know if somebody is denied a ticket from our party and they are offering red carpet for that candidate, I don't know how much it is attracting.
Why are they going in the first place?
Why all the three?
Why are they going in the first place?
BJP, they turn their coats and came to our party.
If it is a question of the BJP wanting them and not the JDU leaders or your team wanting to defect, why are they leaving in the first place? Why aren't you able to keep your flock together?
See, if you're talking of NK Singh, who has left the party.
No, I'm not talking about any one particular individual. This is what is happening at large. And let's go across to Salman Soz. Yes, Salman.
No, there are altogether 3 incidents in our party who has left.
The same question applies to the Congress also, Salman Soz. Go ahead.
Yes, it does. Look, I actually want to kind of reiterate what Mr. Jha also said. Think about the BJP and what's happening to the BJP. That means they are taking people who either did not get the mandate in the Congress or got some inducements or whatever, or saw some opportunity and went over to the BJP, for example. And then they get nominated in the BJP. What happens to those workers who were toiling for the BJP all this time, and then their leadership, their homegrown talent is totally disregarded?
But
wow, sympathy for the opposition.
But what happens when a Karuna Shukla joins you? What happens when a Karuna Shukla joins you and then the Congress is rah-rahing it all over the place?
By the way, if you look at Ms. Shukla's case, can anybody right now, can you say that, oh, by the way, she saw some sort of great opportunity, given what you are all saying about the so-called Modi wave? That seems to be a change by conviction. Not
the simple argument to that, Mr. Soz, is that she did not get an opportunity. So she moved over to a place where she thought she could perhaps get an opportunity. The simple argument to that is the simple counter could be, I'm not saying it is, the simple counter could be that somebody like a Karuna Shukla didn't get an opportunity within the BJP, so she moved to a place where she thought she will find an opportunity. So again, the ideology goes out of the window.
So then it is a personality clash. It is a personal interest rather than opportunity.
No, let me just.
Yes, please make your point.
Let me just put one point forward. You know, there is a reason why some BJP top candidates have faced heavy opposition in the places where they've gone to file nomination papers. There's a reason why in seats, say for example in Jammu,
Mr. Soz, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. There is a reason why several senior leaders within the Congress party are reluctant to even contest the elections. So please don't talk about those who are facing protests. At least they have the gumption to go and contest. The others are being pushed into it. Those who said that they want to work in the state and work for the party have been pushed into the Lok Sabha pitch battle because you're scraping the barrel literally. Isn't that the case?
So wait a second. Is Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad scraping the barrel? Ambika Soni ji, that's scraping the barrel?
Are they eager? Were they really eager to contest?
Kapil Sibal ji, is that scraping the barrel? What are you talking about? Mr. Chidambaram's case, he was asked by the party not to contest. It is not up to Mr. Chidambaram to decide whether he will contest or not. It is up to the party to decide how to utilize the services of any candidate.
Come on.
That's the way it works.
Ashok Malik?
All of our heavyweights are in the field.
Ashok Malik?
No, several Congress heavyweights are not in the field. It's been very well known, whatever Mr. Soz may say, that for several months that Mr. Chidambaram has been very, very unkeen on contesting. He even explored the idea of Pondicherry. We all know the whole story in Delhi. I don't need to repeat it. Mr. Anand Sharma is reluctant. Mr. Sachin Pilot is reluctant. Several Congress politicians are reluctant.
Mr. Anand Sharma is
many people in Punjab jockeying for Mr. Bansal's seat.
Sachin Pilot is in the field. Anand Sharma is not reluctant.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt, let me finish. I did not interrupt when you spoke. Please. All I'm saying is there's a strong perception that Mr. Pilot is an unkeen candidate. I have a right to that perception. I have a right to say that. You have a right to refute it later, after I finish.
It's a perception. Perception.
Please understand, before an election, parties attract talent from other parties, attract people from other parties. But for every 10 people who are taken in, there are about 100 who are not taken in. Each person who's taken in is the result of a pragmatic call. It's also a gamble. Does this person bring me votes? Can he win me an extra seat? Some of those calls are right, some of those calls are wrong. But that is what politics and electoral politics is all about. It is at the end of the day about winning seats, not about pleasing some person on a television debate.
But Hartosh Bal, what about the voter? You know, we've talked about Rahul Narvekar earlier as well, and I'm just bringing him up as an example simply because of the kind of comments that he's actually made against the UPA. I mean, he's been extremely vociferous in his criticism. He'd also gone out and defended that comment that Uddhav Thackeray had made about, you know, there being a bunch of eunuchs in the UPA, and now he's crossed over to the NCP. How is he going to explain that to his voters?
Look, I think on that point, I agree with Ashok that the voter has a choice. If after this the voter still elects Rahul, I think it is not Rahul who is the problem, it is the voters who are a problem if you want to judge it in that fashion. But I think there is a more serious problem here which underlies all this and which we are not addressing. Take the example of N.K. Singh. Now, N.K. Singh was not ideologically committed to the JDU, he was not ideologically committed to the BJP. N.K. Singh's closeness to the Reliance Group is well known. What you are seeing suddenly is a realignment of interests towards the winning side. And those same interests will continue to operate in similar fashion in this country, irrespective of which party wins or loses. That's the real problem in such situations.